Let's talk like that.
That's what you need. You need a little bit of love, some hugs in the morning, little kisses.
I do. I appreciate you hugging up on me this morning.
Yeah. Because if not, you start to wonder, am I not good enough? Should I have, gain a little bit of more muscle? Should I eat? I mean, you're thinking all these things. You're like, am I getting skinny?
Okay.
You're not getting that love.
All right. Let's go ahead and get this started. What is going on? Welcome to Do the Work podcast. I am your host, AZ Araujo, here with the lovely
Carla Araujo.
Carla Araujo. Now, it took us about 15 minutes to get set up here.
Took us a while.
It all started with you. This is my side. This is my side. She walks into the studio and sits in my chair. And she's like, well, it's your ego. Your ego doesn't allow you to sit in, not want to sit on the other side. And it's your ego. You're like trying to pick a fight. Like,
I'm not picking a fight. I normally sit on that side. And
let's
then
go
I asked
back
these
through
guys
all the episodes.
I said, what side did I sit on? They even agreed. They said
no,
she
he was a little, Ricky, let's be honest, man.
No, Ricky said there was times that she sits on that side too.
Yeah, when you're interviewing somebody else, but when it's you and I'm on this side.
Yeah, because it's whatever.
It's your ego. It's your ego. You're like, I'm not moving from here. What's the difference?
Well, I'm not trying to pick a fight. I know where I stand. I used to sit right there.
Anyway, we have a subject today about egos, right? Egos. And let me define ego before we move forward. And it's a person's self-esteem or self-importance. I forgot the S on that. A person's self-esteem or self-importance. So ego can be two things. One, I'm high and mighty, or I'm nothing. I'm trash. I'm a piece of what.
Normally
right?
The high and mighty, though, normally are the ones that.
Well, there's
the ones with the high egos are the ones that lack
usually people when they have
confidence.
conversation is they say your ego, right? Your ego about that. But in reality, it's like when we're negative self-talk, that's also the ego talking to us about how bad we have it. No one has it worse. Everyone has it better. That's all ego. Mm-hmm. But you want to talk a little bit about that whole subject. So talk to me. What's going on?
Oh, about the man and the ego?
Okay, talk to me.
Okay, is that what you were talking? We're going to talk about the man and the ego, right? I think that men have this ego thing to them, and I think that
the high and mighty ego.
The high and mighty ego, yeah. I think that they feel like, let's start like this. This morning when I had said regarding running a business and being a woman has to be one of the hardest things. Because there was a whole conversation in the whole, like, if your voice rises too high, you're just being loud and obnoxious and you're being rude and all these things, right? But if a man's voice rises too high, he's just being powerful and he's standing his ground and so on and so forth. So I know this is Do the Work podcast, but we own real estate. We're in a brokerage. And sometimes while I'm in sales. And if I am, obviously trying to close a deal, whatnot, then you have the man ego and trying to get the best deal.
Yeah.
And so sometimes being in business for so many years, even when I had my retail store, a lot of them were trying to kind of with their ego to kind of trying to raise their voice at me as to like negotiation and what's best and kind of trying to put some rules on me or something. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I was like, okay, wait a minute. I'm not arguing, but my voice gets a little louder, because I think that now it becomes like this cat fight without our knowledge.
Do you think because of your interpretation of what you think the man is going through, that you think that he's coming off this way? Or it could be just a regular negotiation. It could be that male is actually looking out for his client's best interest. It has nothing to do with you. Have you ever thought about that?
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think that I don't know.
You're thinking it's about dominance.
I think it is. Okay, I'm going to give you a prime example, Easy. When I'm closing a deal, there is no negotiation in a deal. This is what it is. These are the set rules, the set amount, so on and so forth.
So let's say somebody want to go through a coaching program. There is no negotiation.
No.
This is the price. This is where we're going, and this is where
because
under your terms. Right.
I can see negotiation being on the table. Okay, that's fine. That's great. But under my terms, this is what it is.
Right.
Then it starts to become. It starts to be questions in the format that it is given. Like the response of it is where they're kind of like, wait, I can really deal this girl. They kind of look at you like, well, she's easy. Let me see what I can get out of it. It's like completely nothing. This is what it is. So because they have no choice, they start to think, well, and I've actually had men where they cross their arms right in front of me. So this is what you're telling me? I'm like, you didn't come in with that ego when we first met. And I told you it was non-negotiable. But then all of a sudden I said, unfortunately, we cannot do that. This is what it is. All this is what the man does. All automatically will start to cross their arms. To me, it's like, okay, you don't want a woman telling you the rules and guidelines and the fees. It's different.
I think there's always, yeah, I don't know if it's an ego thing or just, one of these situations where, he has to, just because someone doesn't agree with you from the beginning doesn't mean it has to do anything with it.
But it's not about a disagreement.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not about disagreement. So it's the level of the way a man speaks to you is where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think, okay, so here's the thing. So as we define ego, a person's sense of self-esteem and self-importance, right? I think it has to do also, it could be, hey, a woman don't tell man what to do. Okay, let's say it's that. Or maybe is it a lack of that other person trying to willing to be a student, right? My whole issue for many years was because I reached a certain level of success, I had to portray that success forever. Like I felt like, okay, so when you reach a certain level, then that's what you are moving forward, when in reality I kept myself from actually growing as an individual because of the ego part, right? So let's say, for example, I wouldn't be so apt about looking for people to help me or ask questions that somebody could help me with.
So
I wouldn't.
There we go, right there.
I would go a different route and try to figure it out myself.
Okay, so we're talking about on standing up.
Yeah, standing up. What do you mean?
On standing up. Okay, forget what I just said. But when I came into running the back end operation of the business,
okay,
you wouldn't let go of anything. So it was, you were trying to hold on to everything. I was like, hey, let me take over. I know what I'm doing on this end of the business, right? Mm-hmm. But it was your ego, because you continue telling yourself, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to do it all, in the format. So you were still running the operation as if I was your secretary. Mm. And it was an ego thing.
Well, you can say it's an ego, but for me, I'll be honest. Like I couldn't trust if you were gonna show up on a daily basis. That was my honest truth.
I couldn't trust if you were gonna make us broke again.
Oh, okay. So see, that's the back and forth there, and that is very true. Because once I look at it from your perspective, our financial issues did come from me, right? My decisions. But at the same time, it was my interpretation of that, and maybe my ego didn't allow me to see that, was like, she's hot and cold. Like, sometimes she wants to be on top of the world, like, be here, and sometimes she doesn't.
And then I'm like, sometimes he's all in, sometimes he's not. Yeah. He leaves projects undone.
Yeah.
Are we going to lose money here and that project there? I mean, damn. Mm-hmm. But you didn't want to let go of the ego. You wanted to be the king of the kingdom.
Right.
And it was like, hey, let the queen run a little bit. Yeah. If not, I'm smarter than you in some areas.
Well.
But you let. Is it an ego thing?
I think I mean, the conflicts that we had was always because of ego. The respect, right? Or the disrespect. Right. She's not talking to me a certain way or vice versa. Like, he's not giving me the credibility. So I think everything is about ego.
Correct. So that's why when I was saying earlier about closing these deals with men, it's like, it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It's like you come in, you already know the set rules and guidelines. You already know that. Mm-hmm. So why do you come in with the mindset of a negotiation? There is no negotiation on the table. But as soon as you see a woman coming in, you're like, oh, well, okay, wait a minute, it's going to be easy. Well,
here's the thing. Like,
and maybe I'm incorrect, but
no, I think
over the years that I've been in business, working with men, sometimes it's a little difficult. It becomes a little difficult in sales.
And there's some men that are, it's visible right from the very beginning.
From the moment
Yeah, and that has to do with cultures, the way they were brought up, certain things. But yeah, you're right. I see it. But, ego will bring a couple things. Okay, ego brings a couple things. One, when things go south, right? When things go south, the ego sometimes you want to blame everyone else, right? Or we self-loathe, which is it happens depending on that person. So when I make a mistake, it's, do I blame somebody or do I beat myself up for it, right? When you're able to take control of the ego and understand, okay, there's a lesson here. There's a reflection that I can do. How about taking responsibility, right? And learning the lesson to keep going, right? So something goes south, blame or self-loathe, negative self-talk. You either blame somebody else or you blame yourself. It's the blame game, right? Either way, it's a blame. And we stay in that rut. Now I would stay in that rut. And then on the good part, when you do something good and feel accomplished, that's the other thing that kept me from growing was I felt like I know it all now. And I can't show mistakes. I can't show my human side because
you're trying to protect your ego.
I'm trying to protect the success that I've made.
Right, trying to protect it.
And that exactly kept me from really growing to another level in my business, right? Because we've hit success so many times during our time together, right, Carla?
Well, I can go the same way too, Easy, which you just say you're trying to protect. In other words, you're trying to protect your ego.
I'm trying to protect this image that I have.
Right. So when I started coming into running the operation, when I would make mistakes, which I'm not perfect, I still do, I was trying to protect myself as well. So it was constantly protecting my ego as well.
And for me, I would blame, right? Because because you were there forcing me to grow because you were constantly at my heels. Now you're just like,
but before it was like I couldn't grow because it was like, okay, if I make a mistake, I was always like on eggshells. Like if I make a mistake, he's going to continuously just blame me. And it was a blame game again. So it's like I don't want you to look at me as if I don't know what I'm doing. So again, I'm trying to protect my ego as well. You know what's
funny? And the way I would try to offset that or try to like explain why I would do that. Like I would blame you. And I would just tell you, well, I do the same to myself. So it's okay. Like I would justify it. When the truth is the ego had me blame as opposed to saying, okay, how can I take responsibility in this aspect of it? What lesson needs to be learned and how do I keep going?
Right.
So that's a very good point. And you're right. I was justify saying I'm only blaming you because that's the way I treat myself. So it's okay. Like in that way. I
remember that. I did.
I always tell you, hey, well, that's just, everything I'm telling you, I tell myself like it's okay.
I remember that, yeah.
And you'd be like, well,
that makes sense.
Okay, then. But it didn't because it brought a lot of resentment, right? Back and forth. It brought a lot of resentment. So, ego.
It's bringing the past right now. I don't know if we're going to hang up.
I could see it in your eyes. We're going to have a little argument after this.
I can't hold back because I just remember that. I remember when I fell for that crap.
And here's the thing. Like, yes, the ego is not a bad thing. We need it. That's why we strive for the next level. That's why we want to stay committed and keep growing. We see bigger visions for ourselves, right? But it's when it becomes debilitating, when we either feel like we've arrived, right? And a lot of people, for example, in your coaching program, right? Even the women's event, there's a lot of women that watch you, Carla, that need that fire to change their lives. But because they have a perception that they put out there, right? An image that they put out there, that they have it all figured out.
And they don't want anyone to know.
They don't want anyone to know that there might be.
Or see the darkness of
it.
Yeah.
They want to constantly put out there that they have it all figured out.
Yeah.
So their ego is stopping them from making the best move that could potentially be for their life. I was the same way. I didn't want anyone to know that I was like falling apart. I didn't want anyone to know that I was like scared the next step of growing my business, or I didn't know what to do to grow my business, because I kept on constantly putting out there that we have it figured out.
Yeah.
Because you and I were both on the same page, Carla.
Even during our marriage, it was falling apart for many years, and it took us a while to share that because no one really saw us. Everyone always saw a happy couple.
Yeah.
Everyone always saw me in heels and well dressed, and everyone saw
every picture we put out there was us smiling.
You know, and I have to. Speaking of women and an ego, I remember running into somebody, a certain individual in a place, in a location, in a business. And we were coming out of the restroom, and she caught me, and she was like, "Hey, Carla Araujo," and I said, "Yeah." She said, "I follow you on Facebook. I've listened to your podcast," and I use her as an example because it's a phenomenal example. She says, "There was a photo that you and AZ have put out there with your whole family, and I remember it was me wearing a pink shirt and the girls still being little." And this was many years back. And she's like, I remember, I'll never forget that photo AZ had just posted on your anniversary. And she goes, you guys are so happy. And I didn't get a chance to tell her. And I think I did tell her. In that photo, we were actually going through a divorce. We were actually going to file for divorce. Like, you have no idea in that photo, it was not us. We just happened to do that family photo because it was already set. And you can see it in my face and my eyes. I'm really angry. And we were on the verge of divorce. So anyway, she goes back and she says, she just starts to cry. I mean, shaking, emotionally crying. And she said that she went through a divorce and she's making it all happen. And it doesn't matter what, I think her husband had some alcohol problem. And she's like, I don't need anybody and I'm fine. And I've been going this far, and so she's putting up this whole wall. And it's like, you're not okay because you're in here pulling me aside. You don't know me, but you
She's
know
screaming.
where I've been.
Yeah.
So you're able to share this with me in private in a bathroom.
Yeah.
And so you're
but anybody
bawling.
else outside that circle, you know, you can't.
Correct.
Right.
So what shocked me the most, though, Az, is that so we were in the restroom for about 10 minutes. It's like she let it all out, right? And she looks in the mirror, she fixes her makeup, and she's like, I'll be fine. And she walks out. And I'm like, without saying like, hey, do you want to talk about this further? Like, so it was left done. It was just left. But I'll never forget her because it was just how many people are walking around like that with this ego thing.
Well,
you don't
yeah.
want anyone to know who you really are. And the woman, she makes good money.
Yeah, no, I saw her walking out, and she was dressed to the nines.
Do you
she
remember
looked
that
all
incident?
put together. Yeah, she had the heels. She was well dressed.
And
I mean,
you're asking, what took you so long?
Yeah,
I'm like, you have no idea what just happened.
And the
right
reality
now.
is because she can grow. She's reached a certain level of success, and it's good. But she's suppressing all the other things because she's unwilling to like find someone else that can give her a different perspective. It could be professional, it could be a coach, it could be a mentor, anything, right? But because she's already shown the world I'm at this level, I cannot show weakness by asking for help or trying to see a different perspective.
Right.
And you know, your programs are not to give help, or it is just to have them see something different. Right. And I can't tell you how many people I know that have reached out, have kind of looked at it from the outside, but are like, well, you know, I don't. And it's not even because of the money. It's just because their ego will not allow them to seek, I guess, the perspective of someone else.
You know, it's a little bit off the subject here, but I remember hiring a coach myself, 2 years ago. And I thought I had it all figured out. I thought everything was good. Ego. Yeah, I thought I was good. And I remember you saying, I need you to get coached. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this kind of deal.
I did not tell you that.
No. You were bringing it up. You were bringing it up. We were talking about it. And you just said, I don't need you to be coached.
The reason being,
it was a discussion.
The reason being is because you kept on asking me. You would ask questions, and then when I would say something, you would like disregard it, right? Because I'm your, of course,
right.
Somebody else could tell you that is exactly the same thing that I told you because I'm your husband, and I know a lot of men deal with this, and even women, right? Yeah. But because I'm your husband, you don't take it seriously,
right?
So you decided to get coached.
I decided to get coached, and I remember going in it with like, what are you possibly going to coach me?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
What can you possibly teach me?
Right. Well, yeah. What are you going to teach me? And I'm very coachable. So, but I wanted to go all in. I just thought to myself, like, what is he gonna that I have not already figured out? You know what I mean? I've already said so much and exposed, and I run multiple coaching programs myself already in my podcast. So I'm already all out there. So what are you possibly going to coach me? But hey, let's just see how this goes. Oh my gosh! For 12 weeks, I just remember there was a missing piece in my life, my relationship with my mom. Yeah. And I had no idea that was even like falling apart until the way it was put in kind of like in perspective, like it was changed. I was like, I didn't see it like that. Yeah. And I see why I'm falling apart over here.
Because there's a missing link. There's a hole there that it's not being filled.
Right.
And here's the thing. We're going to go ahead and continue on this conversation, but I want to go ahead and show you a quick video about the women's event that's coming up this April 26th and 27th, okay? April 26th and 27th. And this is a small group event. We're going to be going through some experiences, and Carla's going to be leading the charge here to really get you to map out the next steps to your life, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your health, whether it's your marriage, your connection with your children, whatever it may be. But to get that clarity, because the true growth in Carla came about when she realized there was a missing link there. And perspective is what put it there. But going through this process is going to allow you to see something greater. So if your ego is stopping you right now and saying, well, no, I got it all figured out, but yet you feel something's missing, you don't want to miss this event. Let's go ahead and show this now.
As you share your voice, you influence further generations, both those that have come before us and those like my daughters that you are starting to rise.
I feel like at your events, you focus on being in your own power and, you know what, screw those other people if they don't like you for who you are and they don't need to accept you. Versus other places that I've gone to, it's very like, forgive everybody, call everybody up, let them back into your lives. And you're like, no, throw those toxic people out of your life.
And I do, and I believe that. I believe we should forgive everyone, but how can we forgive if we can't forgive ourselves?
Yeah.
I want my kids, my children, my girls to look up to powerful, real, and raw women that know that we're all go through very similar same exact emotions and madness. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want, if something happens to my kids, I want them to be able to voice their opinion and scream and give it their all and always just go hard in anything that they do.
Honestly, just be open, go in with an open mind and be ready for criticism too. I mean, that's what I would really tell people. If you're able to receive their criticism that you're giving them, I feel like they would walk out of there with a lot more, because you're right, we are allowing other things in our life to affect us the way we are, and it's our own fault for to continue living the way that we do.
But what do we look at? We look at your celebrities, and you look at all these people, but not real and raw women that are wanting or are willing to share their story, voice their opinion, and give us, be all in with changing them. I don't know, just changing themselves and wanting to just be all in to help someone else in the process of them going through the same thing, sharing a story, right? It's the most powerful thing, just sharing a little bit of yourself. So when I heard her say that, it was just so, wow. Yeah. That was probably one of the most powerful things, just when she just said, I don't want to be any of these women. That is my purpose. That is my reason for my events. Find your voice. I love what I do because my girls are going to be looking up to women like you. And your girls are going to be looking up to my girls when they become women. So we have a responsibility to voice our opinion, to be all in.
And we need more of it.
And we need more of it. And that's why I do what I do.
All right. Awesome. So there it is. The women's event coming up April 26th and 27th. And Carla, you have it set up where you're going to bring groups of women. And the goal is to be able to do this every month and a half, every 45 days, to take them through this experience. And I've seen what you've done. I see what you do with your clientele base. And I'm going to encourage you, if you're allowing your ego to say, no, everything's okay when you know it's not, or maybe you're at the other side of that where you're taking all the blame of it, right? And I'm going to tell you that's not okay. It's about enlightenment in all aspects. Getting you back to the shape you need to be, the health, the confidence you need, having you take a stand for yourself, really, right, Carla? That's what it's all about.
Voice. I don't want to say voice your pain, you know, but it's just voice more of you, give more of you without that shame, and quit letting that ego just get there. There's so much. Yeah, I mean, there's so much you can share of yourself that other women need to hear. And I hear so many stories.
I don't even think it's about that. I think that they just need to hear it for themselves. They need to just put it out there, right?
I mean, of course, that's what I mean. But there is so much they can share of themselves that they don't, because it's like, well, what's the point? Who needs to know all this? And it's not for them. It's for themselves. I mean, you become just more powerful in your own skin. I mean, the confidence that you start to build, it's a game changer for sure.
It really is. So both sides, if you feel like you've arrived, you need to be here. If you're also taking all the blame, you need to be here. But I think this is a good conversation. It was a great conversation, I think, when it comes to how to be able to navigate through the egos. And I think that's what it's a sensitive, what is that, feeling? Or, it's a thought process, right? It's a self-esteem and self-importance, our own thought process behind that. So being able to navigate through that and understand that when things are good, like, give yourself a pat on the back. That's okay, but keep going. When things go south, all right, take responsibility, but then keep going.
Right.
At the end of the day, is to keep going and keep learning, becoming a student, and not necessarily thinking that you have arrived or know it all.
Right.
It's a good deal. Anything else?
It was a good conversation.
All right, guys. It got a little heated right in the beginning. Some technical problems, but I think we got through it.
You got all crazy.
Did I? Was it my ego?
It was a little bit. Your ego thing. It's okay.
I don't know.
I got these guys back, so don't worry. If you're gonna step up, I was like, don't mess with the crew.
What are you gonna do?
Don't mess with the crew.
Don't try to sit in my chair again.
I wasn't trying to. You know what?
You're all up in my biz.
Cut. Take us off right now, because I'm looking at you because I'm about to bring something up that you brought up in the past. We need to discuss that.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us for another episode of Do the Work podcast. And maybe it's something we all need to think about. Where are we in life? If things are going too good, are we now telling everyone else that we don't need new insights? Or if things haven't gone your way, are you in this pit where you're taking all this self-blame and taking all this shame with you? Either way, it's not a good place to be. We have to understand what the lessons are in, whether it's good or bad, and keep going. So guys, I'm going to remind you to go to dothework.com/women's event. If you want to sign up for the event on April 26th and 27th.
Or
Otherwise,
just sign up for more details. There'll be other events, and also there's updates on Facebook groups and everything else that I got going on. But go to Do the Work /women's event to get even updates on it. Yes.
So even if you're not coming to this event, sign up for the updates, and you have a lot of information going out. So I can't wait. It's going to be awesome, Carla. You're gonna make some life changes, and you've done it. And if you're prepared for that, if you're ready for that,
it's going to be a good weekend.
It is. So that's coming up April 26th and 27th. So sign up, and we only have a couple spots left for that, Carla. But maybe there'll be some future ones. But there's only 2 spots left for that, and we will talk to you
soon. Everyone have a great one. Bye.